The MX Vice Show.
Welcome everybody to episode 156 of the MX Vice Show. We have another action-packed show ready for today as we talk all things AMA Supercross ahead of what's looming as a fascinating 2024 season. For this episode, we have another Whiskey Throttle times MX Vice collab as I'm joined by Whiskey Throttle Editor at Large, Jeff Beaver. But before we welcome Jeff, we'd like to thank Parts Europe and Whole Shop Motorhomes. Parts Europe distributes spare parts, accessories, and rider equipment for all motorbike segments in Europe. We support the sport tagline is fortified through the Thor and Moose house brands and their support of World Elite MX riders like Vlander and Prado, Langenfelder, Guadagnini, Jonas, Bogas, and 9-times world champ and Thor ambassador Tony Cairoli. Your Parts Europe dealer has access to all the big brands for your motocross enduro bike, Necken, Pro Circuit, FMF, ODI, Cycler, Renthal, Recluse, and many, many more in stock, ready to be shipped. Check out their website at partseurope.eu or contact your local Parts Europe dealer. With a dealer network of over 10,000 shops, we're sure there is one close to you. Also, a big shout out to Whole Shop Motorhomes for jumping on board. Whole Shop Motorhomes is the UK's specialist motorhome dealer for your motorsport transport. They specialise in garage motorhomes and race vans that are suitable for a wide variety of sports, such as motocross, enduro, karting, mountain biking, and more. Check out especially the Commander that's sure to fit your needs. Check them out online. We also have an article on our website and a YouTube video on our channel, so be sure to check them out and see what they have to offer. So, on to the podcast now. How's Jeff? And thanks for joining us, mate.
Oh, man, I'm good. I'm really good. Just getting back from spine surgery I had in October. I got my first ride in with the boys a couple of days ago and continued my geology degree by taking soil samples every time I get on a bike, but it was worth it. The old KTM two-stroker ripping and went out with the boys and it was a blast, man. I felt so good after time off getting back on the bike. I'm the slowest vet guy you've ever met, and you couldn't have knocked the smile off my face. It was just an absolute blast, man. I can't wait to get back out there.
Oh, awesome, mate. It's all about having fun, isn't it? And how is all the Whiskey Throttle crew over there, mate? You're all getting excitement, ramping up for A1. It's coming around pretty quick, isn't it? And you've certainly been pumping out the content too, haven't you?
Oh, yeah. We've been busy. I mean, I couldn't really go back to work until recently, so just film, and learn as much as I could, and work with Nathan Avila, who's our content director. He came up under Kyle Cowling. The kid's 24 years old, but he's pretty slick. He's got a lot of tricks up his sleeves and makes me feel really old sometimes, but I've been just trying to absorb some of his energy and, I rough him up a little bit and give him the old man speeches every once in a while. So it's pretty funny. Ping says we sound like an old married couple, but it's a funny dynamic, but I like the kid. He's got a lot of talent. So just trying to learn off each other, and everybody's just building each other up. Brent's doing his podcast, and Bruce is just riding everything he can. The joke is now that he's the vintage bike world champion here in the USA. He's killing every vintage race he does, and he's getting ready to do NGPC, which starts in 17 days. And that's our Grand Prix off-road racing series here at AMA Series National Championship. And it's a blast. It's like the West Coast equivalent, I'd say, of like GNCC, real high speed, open desert, and then just legit motocross tracks mixed in with it. So if you guys over there in Europe want to check it out, get on NGPC's YouTube or check out what we're doing here on Whiskey Throttle. We're going to do sight laps every round that we'll put up, so you can see what's coming up and what that kind of racing's like. But like guys like Dante and Matteo Oliveira and Trevor Stewart and all those guys, man, just everybody I've met out there in those NGPC races, Walton, all them dudes, you know, the SLR Honda guys and just Samuels and his whole team. They're just awesome people, man. It's like Ping made a good analogy. He said it's like motocross was 30 years ago. You know, you just cruise up and go talk to anybody you want in the pits. Big family environment, and it's not so corporate. You know, it's just fun. You know, and you're out in the middle of nowhere, so you can raise a little hell, and ain't nobody gonna get mad at you.
That sounds like the way to go, mate. Just like those vets races in a way, you know, that relaxed attitude vibe, and people are wanting to talk to you. There's not so much of a barrier, and it's obviously extremely competitive, but it's just better for the fans, and the riders probably enjoy it just talking to anyone, mate, that are taking the time to go to these things.
Yeah, that's a good comparison. It reminded me of, you know, the vibe's a lot like Dobbs race over there at Farley Castle. And I hope the math works out and the timing works out where I can go back this year, because that was a ball. I'm staying away from Emma though. Yeah, she ain't getting me this year. She comes up with a beer, I'm running the other way, man. I still got a headache.
That's awesome, mate. Yeah, you lads definitely had a blast over there for sure. And yeah, they always do the best to you. Everyone at MX Vice, all the UK crew, Brad and James, they'll say good day, mate, to you. And obviously, we're talking a bit of AMA Supercross to preview, mate. Obviously, you've been out to so many of those team launches. It's all been happening. I guess a great place to start would be Jorge Prado, obviously reigning MXGP world champion, making the step across for A1 and to race the first three. So it's just going to be fascinating to see how that plays out. Obviously, it's been dominating the headlines everywhere around the world. You know, the MXGP 450 champ straight into 450 Supercross. It's a massive step, isn't it, mate? I guess what are your sort of early insights from being over there, watching him ride? I guess it'll be a key period in determining if he goes full time. But I suppose, like talking to JT, he's got the start style, doesn't he, mate? He's so skilled. He's so technically gifted. He's an intelligent, safe, smart rider. Doesn't crash too often. Very disciplined and adaptable. So what's your thoughts on Prado, mate? What's a realistic sort of expectation for him? Top 5, top 10? I guess we'll just have to wait and see, won't we?
Well, you know, I'd seen some clips of Prado riding in Europe, and obviously he's a world champion, MXGP world champion. So the dude's knows how to ride a motorcycle at a high level, and just hauling the mail in the roughest, nastiest conditions, or just ride at home with him. He could probably eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich in one hand and twist the throttle in the other and be right at home, right? So, but Supercross is very surgical, right? And I think all those guys who've come over, the Frenchmen have had some good luck, and, you know, obviously Australians, but it seems like everybody else kind of came over, just kind of struggled a little bit, you know? So there's a lot of people out there saying, oh, he's going to crush it. And then there's the other side of the coin, go, oh man, he's not going to do squat. But the guy gets starts, and, you know, we had a good conversation with him. We shot a little interview with him at the KTM test launch. We just happened to catch him, and we kind of sidebarred him, and the real good interviews. You guys go check it out. Kind of his thoughts on coming over here and just adjusting. And you know, everybody from Europe, when they come over, they're whoops. You know, the whoops are, you know, it's a big adjustment. I look at them and I go, you guys are out of your mind, dude. You know, I don't even like walking across them when they watered them. I'm afraid I'm gonna fall on my butt. But I did get to see him ride about 2 weeks ago out at Paula at the Supercross track. And that track is really, really soft dirt. They rebuild it pretty much after every practice day. And when you looked at the profile of the whoops, the faces of them were cupped in probably a foot deep. I mean, they were just destroyed, and probably worse than a round of Supercross that I've ever seen when I've walked the track. And to see how he was riding that track, he was moving. You know, he's riding with some really good dudes. That KTM test track out there in Marietta is just amazing. They've got a couple tracks set up out there. He's riding with some of the best in the world. And then, you know, Gas has their track in Corona. He's around some world-class Supercross riders. He's got technical skills. From what I saw, super smooth. His timing is really clean. You know, I always kind of look to see how clean guys are getting over the obstacles, right? If they're, you know, sometimes they'll purposely catch the rear tire to slow down a little bit, but you can tell when somebody's just mistimed it, and, you know, their ankles are buzzing after they come down wrong. But he's clean. He's really, really clean for from what I gathered, not riding very much Supercross at all, a couple weeks now. So it's pretty impressive how well he adapts. And I think when you've got a rider on that level, I don't care what they do. I think if he went into Endurocross for a couple months, he'd figure it out and probably be up there in the top pretty quick. Just guys like that tend to make their way to the front no matter what, right? They'll figure it out if they want to be there. If they don't want to be there, they're probably going to tuck the front end and go home, and go back to the RV. But if they want to be there and they want to do it, there's dog in them, right? They're gonna get after it and they're gonna get to the front. This whole exhibition 3 rounds thing, that's going to go out the window as soon as the gate drops. That boy's going to be trying to win. I don't care what anybody says. So I think from what it's a deep field, but you never know where he's going to be, but he's going to be at. I think a top 10 is realistic, and just as crazy as Anaheim is, I could see a top 5. You never know. I looked at the weather this morning. There is a little slight chance of rain a couple days before, but right now it doesn't say there's going to be any rain on Saturday. But the old saying, weathermen are professional liars. So they get it wrong more than anybody and still got a job. So if we have a Mutter Day one, my money is either on Barsha or Plessinger. But as far as Prado goes, he's probably damn good in the mud too, being European. But I think a top 5, top 10, top 5 is probably a stretch, but top 10 I think is easily attainable just from the way I saw him riding. I just when you've got it, and the guy's got skills.
Yeah, he's a pure talent, mate. He's just so exceptional on the bike and makes really good decisions. And like you said, his judgment is just so impressive, and he just picks things up so quickly. Obviously comes from a trials background in Spain and has lived in Belgium. So, he's just so adaptable to different surfaces, and he just knows how to navigate all those obstacles and scenarios. So watching it sort of play out will just be so good, because it sort of is a massive venture into the unknown. And it's hard not to think that he'll be going full time in 2025, which will be awesome as well, mate. And he's just another player that adds to this stack day one. And I wanted to sort of get your take on, obviously, it'll be an interesting dynamic under the awning with Justin Barsha too, won't it, mate? I don't know. Do you reckon you'll rough him up a bit? There's obviously a few guys that don't mind throwing it in there in that class. You got Anderson, Vince Freeze, these kind of dudes that don't mind sort of getting rough and tumble, mate. So it'll be interesting to see how that all plays out on track, if the other guys will put a little flex on him, and even put a flex on Jet Lawrence too with his first 450 Supercross debut in America. It'll be pretty cool, won't it, mate?
Yeah, I mean, I don't put anything past Vince. I think Vince would punt the Pope into next week for $1, but I don't put nothing beyond him. I've met him in person. He's a nice guy. It's just when he gets on the track, he doesn't give a shit. That's just who he is, and I can't hate on him. He'd kick the crap out of me on the track. I can't say nothing about that dude. And that's the way he wants to do his business. That's the way he does his business. And he doesn't make any qualms about it, right? It's not like he's going to say, oh, yeah, well, let's race clean, and then he knocks you into next Tuesday. He's not like that kind of guy. He's just, hey, I'm going for it. And if you're in my way, I'm going to put you on the ground. And, I respect that, And so, no, a lot of people probably don't. But, yeah, I think everybody, I think Jetson, Hunter, I think everybody, the Pope, better be on the lookout. Nobody's safe if Vince is on the track. Seeing some of the guys ride this year, we got a real treat at the KTM test launch to see Aaron riding and see Chase riding, and watching both those boys. We saw Julian Bomar, and Tom Vial ride. We can talk about the 250s in a minute, but the 450 boys on those KTMs, I think that frame is really agreeing with them, because they did not look hesitant at all. Their whoop speed was wide open. Chase he looks really comfortable, and the one thing I like about Chase, in our interview and everybody else's interviews he did that night, he's really honest about his time at Honda, and there was some things with the bike that didn't suit him, but he also talks about, hey, I was just riding it too hard. We did a Christmas special with Lars and the boys over at Honda, and there was a little talk about that you guys should check that out if you get a minute. But he talked about, some of the Honda guys were like, well, hey, we sorted some things out, but all he's going to do is step it up, and he's going to ride right to that razor's edge again. And shit, here we're going to have the same problem here real quick, because that dude is going to ride until the wheels fly off or his hair catches on fire, and he's the biggest. Everybody talks about how big of a bulldog Tomac is, and Tomac's a beast. But if you stand there and look at Chase, he's a big dude. I don't think he could get whiplash in a car wreck. I mean, his neck is as big as mine, and I'm 255, and I'm guaranteed his is a lot stronger than mine is, But he's a very big, strong kid, and he's going to push that machine to the edge. And I'd hate to be the guy setting his bike up and having to get everything out of it, because you've got to have everything absolutely perfect, because he's going to push that bike to the very limit for 20 minutes, and that's I'm glad I'm not that guy, that wouldn't be fun. But I think he's going to kill it. Aaron looks really good. Word on the streets, Mookie's ripping. We went to the Husqvarna launch, and man, the headquarters that KTM Pure Mobility built in Marietta. Oh my God, you should see this place. It is absolutely gorgeous, and you got all the teams there, all the disciplines: off-road, motocross, supercross, and it's a place, looks like a laboratory, and it's super, it's just cool. So we went there, and everybody did their interviews with the guys, but Malcolm seemed really, really happy. He was just like super stoked, and you can tell he wants to get back out there. And RJ and Christian and all of them said, dude, he's hauling ass. And we've all seen Mookie when he lets it rip in the whoops. He's the fastest guy in Supercross when he wants to be on the whoops. And to me, I think that's the biggest differentiator. If he has an on night, I think he gets a win. I just, there's so much talent in that field, but if Mookie's on and the cards play right, I see Malcolm getting up there and getting a dub. I can really see it, and I hope he busts out some of his brother's dance moves. Maybe get a worm out of him down at the podium. I think that'd be hilarious. Bring back some of James' stuff. But yeah, he's happy. Christian seems to be in a good headspace. He looked pretty happy. I really hope he has a good year. I just want him to make it through, all the rounds. When we get to like the Cowie guys, Jason Anderson, word on the street, and everybody says word on the street, right? But seen some clips, and Jason's moving, and some of the insider drops were that, like their first day on that new bike, that some of the guys were, hey man, I'd rather ride this than my 23 race bike. It's that good. And it was kind of weird, because that Cowie kind of took a little bit of a not from us, but from some of the other media outlets, kind of took a little bit of shade, and they really focused on rideability, but you uncork those bikes and give them what they need. And you watch any of the video clips of Adam and him on the bikes, and those things are not slow. And they're very, very comfortable. Everybody said they feel great. They're a good bike. There was some talk about them weighing a little more. I don't know what the weight was, but Larry Brooks made a real interesting comment when we were doing Ken Roxon's bike ride out at Paula, and he says, hey, we're not worried about weight. He said the weight actually seems to help settle the bike, and you think about it, if you get all that power and that thing's featherweight, it's just going to get the cart ahead of the horse too quick, so a little bit of weight, it's like my Ford diesel. It's made out of aluminum now, and I liked my old steel one better, because that aluminum one, you punch it and it feels like it's just going to fly off the road sometimes. It's sometimes it's good to have a little bit of weight, so be interesting to see how that dynamic plays out, because I don't think the weight's as big an issue with the 450s anymore. They got so much, half of them detune them anyway, right? So So if you got a few more pounds on you, I think they're more looking for handling and durability and, and if you got a little more weight, it's going to hook up a little better, right?
You
So
got to ride it for 20 minutes on a main event Supercross track, and that's no mean feat if you're sort of battling it the whole time, isn't it?
yeah. So, maybe some people may say it's a little harder to ride because it's a little heavier, and others may say, hey, it's a little easier to ride, because it tracks better, right? But I'm not qualified to. I couldn't tell you the difference. I mean, you'll never catch me on one of those things, and but just kind of thinking about how that would work, it kind of makes sense, and Larry Brooks is no dummy, that guy's been around since Nom, so he knows what the hell he's talking about. But yeah, it's gonna be real interesting. And AC, he's been real quiet about Adam, he's doing his podcast, so I'll watch his podcast, to kind of see if he's dropping any hints. But that dude's sharper than hell, man. He don't say nothing. He's quiet, and so is his arm good? Maybe great, I watched a video of him yesterday up at the Cowie test track in Corona, and he's going in and out of those turns quick, and jump for show, corner for dough, right? So he's moving pretty good, and God, I'd love to see that guy get a win in the Supercross series. He's got the Monster Cup win, but I actually have one of the jerseys from that weekend hanging on my wall. I'm like, yeah, that's rad, but I'd love to see that guy get a win, dude. That's going to be a podium speech for the ages, right? And then Jason, just untuck that jersey and pin it, dude. Just let him have it, man. Just throw on some Mac Dre in your headphones and let the jersey hang out and just rip, dude. That's all I got to say for Jason. He's a cool cat, dude. I think when he decides he's gonna go, he's gonna go. Hope him and Mookie stay away from each other. We don't have a repeat of a couple years ago. They were like a magnet, man. They crashing into each other. It's like, God damn, again, man. Come on, guys. But those guys gonna be really, really interesting to watch. And then going out to Honda, we went out and did some filming with Dylan Ferrandis, and a happy Dylan Ferrandis is a dangerous Dylan Ferrandis. And the first thing I said to him was like, man, I haven't seen you smile in a long time. And, he's got Ziggy from Factory Connection. I'm sure you're aware of Ziggy, and Ziggy's a legend. If they made a Mount Rushmore of, team people, he's going to be right there at the top. That guy is just an absolute legend. He's a guru of suspension, and it's so good for the sport that he's getting back into it, and we definitely love being involved with that guy. He did some suspension for Bruce, and Bruce and him go way back, and helped Bruce get it dialed in, and that was cool, man. They brought the Factory Connection truck out. We felt like a factory team for the day, dude. And Bruce got dialed, man. I'm like, oh, this is cool, man. You don't see that with a bunch of media dorks out there. And you got a Factory Connection stuff. But what was cool about that is we're out there doing our little thing, and people would come up who had like Factory Connection suspension on their bikes at Paula, and they'd go up to the tech and be, oh, hey, man, and the guy would just be like, yeah, hey, man, and help them out. And like, pretty good. The customer service was pretty rad. I thought that was pretty sweet. And that was just kind of a cool little sidebar I saw that I was like, hey, man, that's cool, and Mitch does that at the races and stuff, but it was kind of cool that he was out there on a test day at the track, and didn't cool guy anybody. He just, yeah, hey, man, hold on, give me a second and I'll be right there. If he wasn't helping Bruce out, he was helping anybody out who was a Factory Connection customer. It was pretty cool to see. But but Dylan, he was moving pretty good. He definitely liked the bike. I picked that up, and we thought we were just going out there for just he'd be the only one there. And we showed up, and there's Jet and Hunter and Joe and Chance. But we didn't film them that day. As you're stepping on the Honda's test track. It's hallowed ground, and it's a privilege to be there. And you follow the rules, it'll be the last time you go, right? So But you can't erase what's in my memory bank. And boy, those Jetsons doing stuff on a bike that's just ridiculous. Ridiculous. And Hunter, it blew my mind how good he was on a 450. I mean, he looked like he'd been riding one for years. I honestly think that bike probably suits him better than a 250, his riding style. He just moving. That's all I can say is those two brothers are going to come in and just like a hurricane, like a category 5 hurricane. They're going to come in and they're going to wreck shop, and they've got a great team over there. Both their mechanics are awesome. Lars is very seasoned, smart guy. His dad was, the team manager back in the day for a couple years, so he comes from a pretty good pedigree. And Lars is real even keeled, and I think he runs a tight ship, but a fair ship. Is kind of what I see. And I think he does everything he can to get those guys what they need, and those guys give him everything they can. So to think Honda's not going to be right at the front in that 450 class, you'd be crazy to not. If you're a betting man in Vegas, if they had odds, you'd be crazy not to bet on those guys. I mean, they look very good. They're a well-oiled machine. They got a good bike. It's just kind of crazy because this year's so stacked. Knock on wood, we've got 5 days. I almost wish everybody just parked their bikes until A1. It's like, okay, everybody's good right now. No more riding. Just take 5 days off, eat a donut, do whatever you got to do, go jogging. Just everybody line up at A1. Because it always seems like you get one guy, right before the race. You're like, son of a bitch. What could have been, but with Honda, KTM, Husqvarna, Cowie, Gas, and then, it's mind blowing. Tomac's coming back, and Webb's on a Yamaha. And if you don't, the one thing I hate about getting on social media here in the States, and I don't know how it is in Europe, but everybody just is so certain of how somebody's going to do, right? And oh, Webb's going to suck on that Yamaha. Dude, Webb's not going to suck on anything if he doesn't want to. And that bike is a lot different than the one he rode a couple years ago. And that guy is the craftiest dude in America, hands down. There's nobody. If I was going to go start a poker team, Cooper Webb would be my number one choice, because that dude has got a poker face and he's going to play mind games. And yeah, he's gonna talk shit. He's gonna be great, dude. I would not be surprised if Coop got a win, and then Tomac. I mean, we don't need to spend too much time on that. There's been a lot of videos of seeing him riding and close-ups on his Achilles tendon, and he's stretching the hell out of that thing. He probably had the best surgeon in the country fix that thing. And I think he got it fixed like the day or two after it happened. So he's had plenty of time on the bike. And, that thing he did with Deegan, having Deegan come out there, that was smart as hell. You're the old dog, you got to inject some new blood in there. And Deegan's got a lot of his aggressive riding style in him, just bulldog riding style. And I think it was probably good for Eli. And dude, I just can't wait for next Saturday, dude. It's going to be insane. It's going to be nuts. And then we got Beta, the Beta boys, I've never seen Benny that fast on a Supercross track. I mean, he's a good rider, he's super tall, the whoop should be easy, but we were out at him at Supercross track a while back, and Benny and the guys at Beta were out there, and I was stoked. I'm like, oh wow, dude, because they're about 4 hours north of here, up in Paso Robles on the Central Coast, God's country. I can't wait to go up there and film one day. It's absolutely beautiful up there. And I'm like, what the hell are they doing down here? So I went and talked to him and asked if I could film them, and they were, yeah, no problem. Just wait till we drop our bike on Monday or something. They just wanted to kind of line it up. I'm like, hey, right on, man. I'll put that one in the wings, right? And the bike just looks good. I was kind of wondering, like, is that thing going to be all sketchy and all over the place? But they've been racing it in Europe, right?
Yeah.
Is that correct? They've been racing it in the
Yeah, a
GPs,
few
right?
years in the MXGP, mate. They've got like heaps of top tens. Obviously motocross, how it translates to supercross, it's a bit of an unknown. But like we were discussing, having a guy like Colt Nichols and Bloss, very experienced guys, they know their way around bikes. And you're talking to the Honda HRC guys, and they only have knowing things to say about Colt from his time there developing the bike, helping out Chase and Jet. So he's a great asset to have, and it's a really good spot for him to have a great factory ride in a 450 because he definitely deserves it. He's been on a bit of a whirlwind tour with teams in the last kind of couple of years, hasn't he, mate? So good home for
Yeah,
him.
yeah,
Good home for Bloss too.
yeah. This sport's so brutal, man. It's
Yeah.
like win a championship, break your arm, and and then the next couple of years is crazy. But kind of one of those cream rises to the top. It's just not on the track. It's who you are as a person. And if you ever get a chance to meet Colt or talk to him in person at a track, super nice guy. He's an Oklahoma boy. He's from the Midwest. Super respectful, nice kid. He doesn't have a big old head. Him and Bogle, Bogle is really cool like that. I've talked to him lately, and he's doing some cool stuff. But back to the beta bike, it looked really good and settled. When I haven't seen Colt on it, and I'm sure he's firing on all eight. But Benny, when he would come through the whoops or come through the rhythm sections, the bike wasn't kicking around in the back. It was just freight training in a straight line, and that bike is not slow. It's got some pepper, and then so for the factory teams, those guys are killing it. And then I got to spend some time the other day with Justin Hill and watching him out on the KTM, and those guys at Tedder, they've stepped up their program pretty good. I mean, say what you want, the dude got a third at Salt Lake last year. That's incredible. And if you've ever seen him ride a bike in person up close, him and his brother are ridiculous. I mean, the Hill boys have got just insane skills on a bike. And so I know Tedder stepped up. I'm not going to talk a whole lot about it, but they've definitely upped their program for last year. His mechanics really pumped up. Justin's happy. So I wouldn't count him out from some good results this year. He's a bulldog. He's going to go run, after he's done part of his training programs, going around and doing jujitsu and rolling around on the mat. So nobody's going to push him around on the track, including Vince. I think everybody's wise enough to know that if you cross the sheriff, you're going to have a bad day. He's a stout dude. So great dude though. Nicest dude you'll ever meet, man. He'd give you the shirt off your back if you needed it. But I'd really like to see him mix it up this year. I think he's got a really good bike this year, and got some time in. I mean, think of it. He came off the couch and got a podium his first year back. That's just gnarly. So, okay, let's build off that. The last time we went racing, he had a podium, and he's happy. He did some world rounds. He's definitely got the race rust off, and he looks really good on the bike. And it was actually really cool. My buddy Scott, that I actually met from Justin, is a filmer, and he's down from Oregon, and they went out to the hills the other day after it rained. And it's so cool to see a guy like Justin still go out in the hill and just go ripping and just hitting sick hits out in the hills out here. A lot of these guys don't do that no more. And I'd asked Ping about it, and I'm like, man, why don't those guys go out and do that no more? The bike skills that those guys learn. I've been around it long enough, of the sport long enough, that you're gaining so much bike skills from doing all those gnarly hits and timing and stuff like that. And a lot of that has got to translate into Supercross, right? If you mistime something, you're having a bad day out there. It's big consequences, but big fun. So I'm super pumped on him, man. I'm always going to be cheering for Justin. I don't care. I like that dude. He's cool.
Must help with creativity and just being exposed to different situations. You never know when you might call on that sort of skill set or knowledge.
Yeah. He's got a bag of tricks, man. He's a crafty old man right there.
Yeah, mate, there's so much good stuff to unpack from what you said there, mate. And there's so much unknown. And perfectly what you said about Cooper Webb. Obviously, he's just such a racer on the day, isn't he? You know, he doesn't necessarily be the fastest guy on training or in testing. But, you know, when it's time those lights go out and the main event kicks in, he's just all over it. And, you know, a good mate, we know Paul Pierce, he obviously does some statistical work. You know, the numbers he sent through about A1, it's quite staggering. Obviously, he's got 3 main event podiums there. And the qualifying's only 9.83 average. You know, heat race finishes is 6th as an average. But when you get to the main event finishes, it's 5.33 and obviously got the 3 podiums. So it's pretty interesting. You see how that just sort of sums him up, doesn't it, mate? He just feels things out, gets it, almost lulls them into a false sense of security. And once the gate drops and those lights go out at night, mate, he just turns it on, doesn't he? And he was doing really well last year. He was managing the season. He traditionally starts quite slowly, so that sort of adds to the intrigue with him. And then he sort of just consistently racks off podiums and he gets those wins. And I guess he was pretty close to winning it last year, really, wasn't it, before his injury and obviously Tomac's injury. So you can't sort of, you know, write him off ever, can you, mate? Because he's always there in the background, just lurking. He's never going to, you know, take the foot off the throat, is he?
No, that guy has no mercy, man. I wouldn't want to be his enemy in a war. He'd put a bayonet in your lung real quick, you know, and smile at you while he's doing it. You know, sorry, man, that's just the game. But you know, yeah, he was right there. If he wouldn't have had that neck injury and everything, I don't know what was going on, but I think it could have been real interesting down at the end, because the closer that he's a lot like GL in the sense that if there's blood in the water, he steps it up even harder. And GL was like that, you know. GL was always a good rider, but if he knew he could take a bite out of your ass, you better pin it, because he was eating. That dog was gonna leave some teeth marks in your ass. I'll tell you that. You know, and Webb's the same way.
Yeah.
He's a hell of a guy. I've only talked to him a couple times. You know, I mean, I probably wouldn't know who the hell I am, but he seems just pretty focused, and you know, just wants to race and kick some ass, and hopefully we get a couple more good years out of him. And AP, I told AP, I said, dude, hey man, I need you to go home and stock up on water and food at your house for your family. And he kind of looked at me and cocked his head funny, you know, why you say that? And I go, because you win a damn Supercross race, you're going to crash the internet. All the 3-letter agencies are going to be spinning around. You know, the world's going to go all to hell when you win that race, man. This is going to break the internet. And he started laughing. And but if that guy wins, I mean, you will see a party like never before. I don't care what I do, where I go, who I got to push out of my way, and I'm the biggest dude in the moto media, so I'm going to get to the front of that party. But I'm getting that on video, because that's going to be wild.
Oh, mate, he's a legend, isn't he? He was so close last year too, wasn't he?
I was driving through Montana, listening to that race, and I about just drove off the road. I was so heartbroken, along with the rest of America, just driving down the road, and there's like a left-hand turn doing 55 miles an hour. And I was just like, man, I'm just going to drive off this son of a bitch. It's not worth it anymore. I was so depressed, you know, like, what the, you know, I think everybody, I mean, when's the last time you've seen every person, and I mean every person in moto, every team was like, son of a bitch, man, that sucked, he should have won, you know, like his own competitors, Rocks, and everybody was like, god damn it, man, we wanted him to win, you know. And that just speaks volumes about that dude's character, you know. I mean, there's a lot of people who are cool on TV that are douchebag when the camera's off, but he's not like that, right? And he wouldn't get that reaction if he wasn't just a genuine badass cool dude, you know. So if he gets a win, I'm not gonna. My wife will love it. I won't be able to talk for a couple days, so she won't have to hear me ramble. But it's gonna be rad. It's gonna, and I hope I'm at that race. So
yeah, hopefully it's A1, mate, and you're there.
Hey, if A1 were a mutter, you know, you got to put it on Tomac or Bam Bam or AP, right? You know, so I don't think we're going to get that. And I want a dirt race, but I don't want a mud race. But then there's the 250s. What's the pulse over there in in your neck of the woods, obviously, your countrymen are now in the 450s. So who's the guy for you guys now in the 250s? But in Europe and in Australia, what's the buzz over there about the 250 class this year?
Well, yeah, to start, obviously, the Lawrence brothers in the 450s, and obviously Aaron Tanti as well in the 450 class as well in the Kawasaki. So watch out for him, mate. He's a champ over here, super good rider. He's done it the hard way, worked his way up from, doing the trade, riding, getting on a factory team. He's done it the hard way. So make sure you have a chat to Tanti when you're at A1, mate. Super good bloke, really humble.
Who's he riding for?
PRMX, I believe, mate. So check him
Oh,
out.
that's that Cowie team,
Yeah,
right?
Cowie team. So check him
Okay,
out, mate. Really good.
I'll have to go check them out.
Yeah, really good rider, giving the guys like Brayton and, Wilson a pretty good run for their money over in the Australian Supercross. And yeah, check out him, mate.
Yeah, how about that Dino winning the title,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. That's Dino and Anstey doing the job in Australia. So that's what I was going to sort of pivot to. Obviously, Anstey's a name on everyone's lip. Obviously, winning that World Supercross, really cool. Won the Australian Supercross title for the second year in a row. He's just a machine. I went to one of the rounds and it was just a cut above through the whoops, especially. He was just an absolute animal there. And he's got that experience and he's raced GPs, raced in America all these years and just has so much skill. And like you were saying, mate, you can't just buy that. It's gained over time and experience, and just the craft he has is pretty impressive. So I expect him, hopefully, especially the UK audience and the European audience, to see him do really well. And I guess you're looking at the West region, there's so many unknowns. It's not 100% confirmed, a lot of the riders, but just seeing guys like Boland and Hampshire going at it. And I reckon Shimoda's going to be pretty hard to beat, isn't he, mate, to be honest? And even Kitchen, he's an absolute weapon. And seeing how he switches that Kawasaki framework, because obviously he wasn't super happy on Star by the end of it there, and he wanted his own setup, and he's kind of been granted that, and he seems a lot happy, refreshed, recalibrated, a bit like the Ferrandis situation. Even a guy we haven't really touched on much, Roxon, that sort of situation where you give them their freedom and you let them run their own program and do with their own trainers, that can sort of pay dividends. Can also go the other way as well, mate. But yeah, there's going to be some seriously good racing in those 250 classes, getting guys like Marchbanks and Nicoletti throwing it in there amongst the younger guys. Jordan Smith could easily win stuff, and Talon Hawkins, how's he going to go on a KTM now? And there's just so many unknowns. And Thrasher, he's obviously had that savage injury as well. He'll come back. He'll back himself to be winning mains for sure. Ryder D on the gas, mate. I reckon the 250s, especially now with Hunter and Jet out of Supercross, it's a different winner every week almost, isn't it, mate? It's so unpredictable. You wouldn't want to be putting money on it, would you?
Oh, I can picture everybody's head. The theme music's going to be the U.S. Cavalry Charge. Just fucking go for it, right? Everybody's like, all right, game on, right? I've seen the PC boys ride. Seen McAdoo out there. He looks pretty good.
Obviously, we did mention Deegan. He's assuming we're doing East at this point. That's correct.
That's the word on the street. My thought is he probably wants to keep with Hutch his mechanic. That's the only thing that makes sense to me. I would have thought he would have wanted to come race West Coast. He's a West Coast kid, but Duff's such a integral part of his program. I wouldn't be surprised if they said, hey, let's race East and get Duff mended up to where he's on the line with him. I think he
had a nasty one, didn't he?
Yeah, I don't know what quite happened. I know he broke his leg, something gnarly, but that sucks because he's a cool ass dude. But the rider and mechanic dynamic, I was talking to Dave the other day, and he goes, well, they could get another mechanic. But my thought behind it was, that's my boy. If I've spent that much time, like you look at Seth Hamaker and Jacob Martin, those dudes are boys, right? And I don't think Seth would want to go. I mean, Seth would go racing, but he probably wouldn't be the same guy on the line without Jacob right there. That there's a lot of confidence having your guy in your corner. He's going to know what to say. He's going to know what motivates you, and those dudes are a team. They're a team within a team, right? The way I look at it, you kind of got to be, right? If the rider and mechanic don't get along, it's just, you just got a big steaming pile of dog shit, right? You ain't going to do nothing. And, but if they're gelling and they can kind of predict each other's thoughts, then you're a well-oiled machine. He's going to know what to do with the bike. He's going to see what his guy's doing on the track, and he's going to call him out if he's being a pussy, or he's going to pump him up if, and tell him what he's doing right. And he's going to see what they're doing, and give him proper feedback. It's another set of eyes. He knows when he's on and when he's off, right? And where he's on and where he's off. So it wouldn't be surprised me if being as smart as Brian is, I would think that I would not be surprised if that was a lot of Brian's thoughts was, hey man, I want to keep that dynamic together. He's sharp as shit. So that if it was me, that's what I would push for. I'd want my team together. I don't care what coast you go, say what you say. Hey, we're going to be east. If you think I'm ducking you, then switch coast and come over and throw down. That kid ain't afraid of nobody. And, it's going to be awesome to watch him race. But what I'd say in Voland, he looks good on that Cowie. He looks real good on that Cowie. Nothing against KTM, just when a guy's not gelling, like he said, Levi wasn't gelling with the Star bike. There's nothing wrong with that Star bike. It's a badass bike, right? But just when a guy doesn't gel with it, or Chase with the Honda, if they're not gelling, they're not gelling, right? And these guys all got kind of a fresh start. And watching Voland out at Paula or at him at Supercross, he's just springboard. I told his dad he looks like a gazelle, just going 90 miles an hour and springing over fences, and jumping over the triple, and just looks effortless. He looks really, really clean. Levi looked really good the day I saw him ride. Again,
another man I wanted to get your thoughts on as well after you finish your train of thought there was Guillaume Ferrez. Obviously, the European audience would love to hear your insight. You've chatted to him. He's a super good, humble young bloke. He's done it the hard way too, hasn't he, mate? Sort of came out of obscurity to a lot of people's eyes. And, he's a talented rider in Europe and doing the German championship and racing some MX2 and some EMX. But yeah, Star did a great job with the talent scouting there, mate, and just, taking a chance on him, didn't they? Just sort of. And then obviously they saw what he did, and then he's obviously picked up the ride with Husky. So seeing him go from the strength to strength will be fascinating, and how he adapts to that Supercross challenge. And it's pretty cool, mate. 2 Spaniards racing Supercross. Who would have thought that? And obviously Boutron.
Spanish invasion.
Yeah, Boutron's announced he's doing A1 today. So 3 of them. Obviously, I don't think will be at A1.
Okay,
cool.
Okay, and thank you for steering the ship, because I'll go down a rabbit hole. But before I go on to Perez, y'all keep an eye out for Hammaker. That kid's got skills. From what I understand, he's doing East. I just booked my tickets to Detroit the other night, and I'm going to be there. And keep an eye out for Jet Reynolds. The kid was the winningest amateur we've ever had. For whatever reason, it didn't work out before. That's water under the bridge, and he's kicking a dead dog. But if you look at him now, you just look at his pictures. He looks healthier. He shed some weight. The kid knows, if you watch any videos of that kid riding a bike, he's dangerous. But Seth, I like to think of him like the silent assassin. He doesn't say much, but he'll kick the shit out of you, on the track. And you look at how he came out in the Nationals. Just came out and just firing on the starts and moto results. So those are 2 guys I'm really interested to see how they do. And I'm always cheering for Hammaker. That's a cool kid right there, and Jacob, so if they get after it and win, I'll be stoked. But yeah, Perez, I'd never met him. I'd seen him race at the first time I saw him race, I think was 22. I think he was over there, and I was like, who the hell is this kid? And he did pretty good, but I didn't talk to him or nothing like that. I was just that was kind of when I first started. I think it was my second weekend of doing this stuff. So I was just walking around, eyes as big as dinner plates, like, what the hell am I doing? How the hell did I end up here, man? But the kid is super nice, man. And when we talked to him at the Husky launch, boy, yeah, his story, like a privateer in the MXGPs, I guess that just really doesn't happen, right? It's not like America where you have a bunch of dudes in vans just show up on the weekend and they got their pro license and they go for it. And that's freaking rad. And that's what makes American motocross so badass. But I guess in Europe, and I hope to save up some money and go over there and see an MXGP this season or next season.
I just want to see how the whole thing works. You can watch it on TV and kind of read around, but until you go to a race and feel it, then you can wrap your head around it and understand it. But yeah, I guess he just kind of went out there and started giving everybody the business, and then came over here and obviously impressed the boys at Star enough to get a ride. And then, man, what a raw deal! Broke his arm at Colorado last year. I think he got in. I think that was him and Jet Reynolds got into that tangle. I think Reynolds got all banged up in that one too. So I don't think either one of them have really been on a track since then. So be good to see those boys get back out there. But I think the kid's got skills. You watch him ride; he's fast, dude, and he's on a great bike. He's got a great mechanic. You're talking about Talon Hawkins. So his mechanic Jack stayed with Husky, and Jack's great guy. He's solid. He came up with Talon from the amateur ranks, and he's got a good head on his shoulders and good mechanic. And so Gim's got a good guy in his corner. And with Nathan Ramsey, Nathan's such a great team manager, and he's gonna nurture those guys' attributes the best he can, right? He's smart. He's gonna know how to manage each guy, right? And that kid's gonna, guy's a champion racer, so he's got that in his corner, and he pay attention and listen to what Nate says, and you're gonna go a long way, right? And being part of Pierre Mobility, he's got every tool he could ever want. But I don't know. I see him maybe top 10. I think that would be a good goal for him right off the bat. If he could get a top 10 in that class, I'd call that a win. I don't know how the Spanish Supercross scene is or anything, but just being kind of an uneducated guess, I would think a top 10 would be great. And
not easy, is it? Like Vial last year struggled quite a lot, didn't he?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, they all see the whoops and go, "Oh shit." What are those? We don't have those in Europe. We got big holes and fast sweep and ruts that'll swallow a Buick, right? But Vial, I think he's gonna do a lot better than people expect. If he gets out front, I think he'll get going. I mean, he's a world champion, and I think when he figures out the whoops, I think he'll be fast as hell. He's got Marv in his corner, and Marv's as crafty as they come, right? And so those two coming over, I think, will surprise a few people and have a couple good results in there. And I think it'll be a building year for both of them. As far as guys like Talon, he's on that AEO KTM, and word on the street is that bike's pretty legit this year. It's got some goodies, so the kid can ride, and he's another one of those kids that if he's confident and happy, I think he's going to go fast, and before he kind of came off a bad injury and did a couple outdoor rounds and then did the outdoor series or did the futures and then got called into Supercross and did the outdoor series. But really that was kind of just got thrown into the grinder. Right. And so it didn't work out. It is what it is, but he's now on a really good team with a really good bike and he's really happy. And I think that kid will surprise you. I'd tell him all the time, he's like all those guys, they get hard on themselves. I'm like, man, don't be hard on yourself. Like, I think he was bummed he had like a 18th one day. And I go, dude, you're the 18th best motocross rider in the world today. And I don't know about all that. I said, bullshit. Look at the results sheet. You're the 18th best motocross rider in the world right now. You want me to go out there and ride next to you? You're going to feel like Jeremy McGrath, dude, I'll make you look good, real quick. But, he's a lot of the racing is mental. The bike skills are one thing, but a lot of it's mental. But he's a great kid and cool as hell. I hope he grows his hair back out so we can make like a Spicoli shirt from Fast Time at Ridgemont High, because that's what he looks like. It's like Sean Penn back in the 80s. But he's gonna rip.
What's your take on Triumph, mate? Obviously, Savachi will be doing 250 outdoors, and he's got a lot of prep time. Obviously, they had all the issues with him and the pointing out things, so he won't be racing Supercross, but he should be a title contender, 250 outdoors for sure. A lot of time to develop the bike, a superb rider. really excellent on all formats. But I guess the eyes will be initially on Swole and Ferry, seeing how they go, because there's a lot of unknowns, obviously, with the Triumph bike. All the murmurings are it's a pretty excellent bike. Obviously, it is. They've done their due diligence and their testing and their hard work, but you can never really know till you race it, I guess, in that environment. So how those guys do be fascinating. Obviously, there's some really good people in the corner running that team that have got so much experience over the years, and they know how to handle young athletes too, and all the ups and downs that comes with that. So, and obviously the familiarity, especially for Swole, will be really excellent. And obviously Ferry and Savachi, having them around is only a good thing. So how do you think it's all going to go with Triumph, mate? Do you expect, obviously Swole will be expecting around that top 5 podium. Obviously the Whoops, he openly admitted that's where he needs to improve. So let's see how he goes, mate. And it'll be good to see them out there because it's going to be a lot of eyes on them.
Yeah, I mean, Savachi, I don't know enough about the dude, like what his headspace is like. I've never really talked to him or anything to kind of have an idea. I kind of like to think I'm a good judge of character and how people are going to react when I can usually, when I meet somebody, kind of get a feel for how that person is going to do in certain situations just by talking to them for a little while. And so that's one of the things not judging, but just you kind of get a feel for what their mindset is. Are they a killer or are they calculated, kind of like a meerkat? Like, oh shit, well that's dangerous, I'm going to go over here, right? You just kind of see how who they're gonna be, and I look for that. He's definitely got the skills to win. I mean, say for Zach Osborne, he would add a championship, and so he's got the skills. Fast as hell. Sometimes I think he's his own worst enemy on the bike. I don't know what it is, but it just, you look back and like, God damn, man, the guy has the worst freaking luck, right? I just knock on wood. I hope the guy makes it through a season healthy and has good results. And yeah, if he gets a win, good on him, dude. And I know Ricky Carmichael will be all stoked out. Jalik Swole, I mean, he's got an outdoor national win. I think he won High Point a couple years ago is the one he won. That's no slouch right there. The kid's the real deal, and he came from a pretty interesting, background to where he is now, and so he hasn't had anything handed to him. He earned where he's at, and he's worked his ass off, just like I guess everybody really has. That's kind of a cliche statement, but he's got some dog in him. He fights. You see it out there. He fights hard. And I think if he gets a clear track, he's got the skills and the speed. You could see it. He pushes forward. He doesn't settle in and sit there. He fights or he crashes. But I think it'd be cool to see him win. And then Ferry. I mean, what can you say about that kid? I mean, he's got one of the best riders in the world, that we've ever seen as his coach and his pops. So he's got a hell of a pedigree. The kid's fast. It's kind of weird. He just disappeared for a long time, right? Where the hell did Evan Ferry go? Oh, well, he was on that damn Triumph. He was sneaking off, starting a factory team. So that's where he went. But I don't know how great of a secret that was, but I'm sure hell eluded me. But I'd like to see him win. He's a nice kid. I interviewed him at Ironman after the Combine in 22, and man, just great energy. Just great kid. I don't know how he'll do. I know he's fast. He gave Deegan fits sometimes. I think Deegan got the better of him most of the time. But I mean, hey, it's racing, right? But he's definitely got skills. Like to see him win. Yeah, it's so mind-boggling to sit there and think of all these scenarios and all these races. I mean, you get through the 450 class and you're brain dead thinking about the 250 guys. And okay, Deegan. Everybody's going to put a rubber stamp on Deegan and Joe. I think those are your two season favorites. And then who's going to come up behind them? To me, another one you got to think on the West Coast. Everybody's Joe. I think you need to think RJ. There is nobody who is more determined than RJ Hampshire. When I seen him at the Husky deal, I said, "Hey man, I gotta ask you." And he goes, "What's up?" And I go, "When at Jersey, when you were going after Jetson," I said, "Did you have like a baseball flashback?" Because he was a hell of a baseball player. I go, you look like you're sliding into home, dude. And Jet was the catcher. I go, did you get your sports mixed up or something? He's just going haywire. He started laughing. He goes, no, man, I was just going for it, but he's a great kid, and great kid. He's a grown man, but
Yeah.
super cool, super cool, determined. I just want to see him stay off the ground, and I think, there's a lot of people out there that think RJ's yours this year. If he doesn't try to kill himself getting to the lead and can settle for a second and a third here and there, I think you would be looking pretty sharp for a title in RJ's corner. I mean, he's got the speed. That guy's probably on any given day right there with the fastest of them. I'd put him up there with Deegan on speed when he wants to be, and he's on. He's ridiculously talented. So I think that'd be cool as shit to see him get a title. Well deserved.
Yeah, he's definitely got like a lot of the pieces to fall into place. Obviously, he's a lot happier on the bike now. He's had issues with that in the past. So if he can piece it all together and, like you said, stay healthy, stay off the ground, he's an animal, he's a fighter, and he's ridden injured so many times. So he's not, if he misses a race, there's something seriously wrong, because he wants those titles and he wants those wins. And it's a really cool attitude to have, that sort of never give up, fearless, just an animal of a competitor. To see him get a title would be sort of a good testament to all the hard work over the years and the patience and persistence. So I guess I know you've got to go on a tick, mate, but just your 450, I guess, early picks, even A1 predictions. It's obviously going to be pretty hard to beat Jet, Tomac, and Sexton. That's kind of your big three at the moment. But JT had some pretty interesting comments on Jet. It's been a really big year for him, hasn't it? 2023. Does he come in a little bit jaded, or is he buzzing off it, just feeding off the adrenaline? Obviously, he's done the Motocross of Nations, done Paris, done a fair bit of traveling. Is he going to be a bit burnt out, mate? Is he going to be sort of not in fully peak condition come A1? Obviously, the skills and, he's happy with the bike, happy with the team, that framework, the proven formulas there. He just looks effortless when he rides, mate. So I guess how's he going to handle it? So we already sort of touched on Sexton and Tomac really well. So it'll just be interesting to see how it plays out for Jet too, won't it, mate? But who are your picks for A1 in the season?
I think, I don't know who to put on the box at A1 or the season. I really don't. I think you've got to put at the top three. If I was betting my money in Vegas, it would be Jetson and Tomac and Chase. I mean, you just the work speaks for itself. But like I said, Mookie or any of them could come up there and just kick the crap out of them at any given time, or Ken or whoever. That's the beautiful thing about this racing, is you never know what you're going to get. It's like life's like a box of chocolates, right? Forrest Gump. But Jetson is a freak, and when I say that, like a mental freak, I think his dad, Ping was telling me one time, his dad said something kind of cool, that Hunter made that they knew that Jetson was going to be, air quotes, better than Hunter, because Hunter went head first through all the walls and paved the way. And then Jetson just came kind of goofballing around, having a good time, hauling ass through the holes that Hunter punched through the line, right? And so, I hope when they're old and gray, Jetson's really nice and buys him a nice wheelchair and puts him in a good old folks home. Hey, thanks, big brother. And for brothers, they're cool as hell. But I think Dazzy raised a real smart kid. And Lucas, I don't think they let him get too squirrely. They like their cars, so everybody gives him shit about all their cars. Sorry, dude, Dazzy's got some badass cars. Me and him, I talk to him more about cars than I do about anything when I see him. I show him pictures of my Chevelle, and he shows me his Camaro he got, and that's our kind of deal. But I don't think the pressure is really going to get to Jet. I mean, he's going to have his days. They all do, but I don't think he's caught up in himself like that. I think honestly, if he stays healthy through his career, he's going to be there with Ricky McGrath, Eli, James, all those guys. He's that good. I mean, how do you not think he's going to end up there? I mean, anything could happen, but the odds are that if he stays healthy and he races, they're racing longer than they did. But if this is his first 450 year, and he has 7 solid years in the 450 class, But like Lars said in that interview we did with him, he ain't even won a race yet.
Yeah.
You know, Ping asked him, think he can beat that 72 Supercross? He goes, I don't know, but he ain't won shit yet, you know. You know, he killed it outdoors, but he still ain't won shit. So we'll see. The kid's definitely got the talent to do it. But I don't know, man. I'm just stoked, dude. Everybody's probably like, this guy's babbling on and on and on. But how could you not babble on and on and on when there's so much to talk about and you only got an hour to go, right?
Yeah, mate, it's going to be so fascinating. It's a good sort of perspective they have, the family, and obviously Lars and the team. They keep the feet on the ground, don't they, mate? They don't get too carried away with the success. It's always the next challenge, refocus, because obviously it would be pretty easy for a guy like Jet at such a young age achieving so much to get carried away. So he's got those important figures in his life, doesn't he?
Yeah, if he didn't have those figures in his life and he didn't have social media breathing down his neck and it was the 1990s, oh God, there's no telling what that kid would be doing. He'd be running around with his hair on fire. But yeah, I think his mom and his dad and really his brother. I think his brother. If I were to think of anybody who probably kicks the shit out of him the most and keeps him settled, it's probably his brother. You know, like if you think about how that dynamic is, dad can do so much, but just like every son, they're only going to listen to their dad so much, and then they're just not going to listen. But their brother, they're going to listen to, right? So I bet you that Hunter has a big influence on Jetson, and you know, tell him you're being a dumbass, right? You know, and we all see that Hunter can still beat up Jetson for the moment. You know, when they have their golf outings, it's always Jetson laying in the bushes and Hunter's kicking his ass. It's hilarious. So. You know, I don't think he's afraid to tell him, you know, what time it is, you know, and it's going to be so cool to see him on the track. You know, do they turn off the brothers when they're out there and just start going for it? You know, but they, like they said, at the end of the day, they're brothers. But it's going to be a hold your breath moment when the two of them, when it's a 1-2 moment or they're coming through the pack together. That's going to be pretty sick moment.
Oh, mate, it's going to
Be
be
a lot
awesome to see how it unfolds. And especially for me being an Aussie, it's just cool to have those guys spreading the word about the sport and just achieving great things, because it's super impressive for those two to do what they do and where they are and the story where they've come from to be champions in America. It's almost like nothing short of a miracle in a lot of ways from where they were to where they are. So it's going to be so good, mate. And I definitely want to thank you again for taking the time, mate. It's been an awesome chat. We could have got on forever, but we'll definitely get you back on for sure, mate. And before we let you go, I'll just thank the sponsors, AS3 Performance Parts, the home of aftermarket motocross and enduro parts, from hardware and protection parts, including skid plates and radiator braces, to performance cooling parts, including silicon radiator hoses and oversized impeller kits. AS3 also have a huge range of brake, clutch, and gear levers, all with different features and adjustability. Check them out online at as3performance.co.uk. And obviously, Kawasaki Motors UK, really big shout out to them. Obviously, we've been promoting the KLX 140R range a lot of this season, 144cc engine, plush suspension, and push button electric start making for great trailblazers. Also, the KX450, check that out. Absolute awesome machine, like we've touched on. Our tester, Brad Wheeler's done some great work on YouTube, a video there, and some written content. So check out all that. And it's just a brilliant bike. So I'd encourage anyone to get amongst that. Check out Kawasaki. So that's the end of the MX Vice show for this one. Thanks again, Jeff. I guess quickly, mate, any final thoughts from you? What's on the horizon? And thanks again for taking the time.
Oh man, hey, I love doing these, and hey, if we get some time, let's do one right before the East opener for Detroit.
Yeah,
Pretty
mate.
cool. And y'all stay tuned. If you want to see what's going on over here in America, tune into Whiskey Throttle Media. And we're gonna have a lot of race coverage this year, so we're gonna be out and about. We're doing a lot of cool stuff for the 24 season. I'll let Ping handle that, make those announcements. But yeah, give us a follow, and we'll definitely be working with the MX Vice boys to get our stuff over there to you guys. And hopefully we're doing it justice, and you like what we're putting out, and absolutely just having a ball. If anybody in media in America is having a good time, it's the Whiskey Throttle crew. I promise you that. And if you guys come over for a race, send us a message. We'll try to hook up, say what's up, have some fun, maybe even go riding. Who knows? If you guys come over to Southern California, shoot us a message and tell them Ed and James sent you. But anyway, y'all have fun. I got to go to physical therapy. And Ed, I don't know what time it is over there or what you guys got to do, but you have fun, be safe, and we'll talk after A1.
No worries, mate. Sounds good. All the best, and look forward to speaking again soon.
All right, bud.
See you, mate.